I'm Emily Chang, and this is the podcast version of The Circuit, my show on Bloomberg Originals. There's one building that rises above the rest of the San Francisco skyline. It's home to a software giant whose story begins somewhere more tropical.
I heard something. Did you really come up with the idea for Salesforce while you were swimming with dolphins in Hawaii?
I did. I do a great dolphin imitation. Did you know that?
Can you? Oh my God. How do they respond? The dolphins?
This is Marc Benioff, CEO and founder of Salesforce, the world's #1 customer relationship management, or CRM, software provider. They sell cloud-based business tools for sales, marketing, e-commerce, all that good stuff. It might sound niche, but their clients include the likes of Apple, Boeing, Amazon, and more than 150,000 companies. Benioff has been called a master networker, a force of nature, Mr. Disruptor, and the Fresh Prince of software. Let's just say subtlety isn't really his thing. At its core, this is a story all about software. A self-taught teenage programmer turned visionary tech billionaire. And believe it or not, it all starts with a customer service job. In 1986, you could find Benioff answering customer calls at a not-so-little future competitor called Oracle. Under the wing of longtime CEO Larry Ellison, Benioff's knack for sales took him straight to the top. Today, Benioff is all in on the AI boom with a new product, AI Agents, a digital workforce to autonomously complete tasks. He isn't the only one betting big on agentic AI, but true to form, he's all in.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us. Here we are back in the Ohana room.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Ohana.
We're so happy to have you. I know you know what Ohana means.
Right.
How do you know that?
It means
How
family.
do you know what Ohana means?
I'm from Hawaii.
You're Hawaii. Are you a Kama'aina, a native Hawaiian?
I'm a Kama'aina.
Were you born in Hawaii?
I was born in Hawaii, born and raised. And you love Hawaii.
I love Hawaii too.
But next time if we do this, I want Mai Tais on the Big Island.
Let's do it.
Deal?
Come over.
I've interviewed you many times from your false cloud days, many, many Dreamforces. But I want to go back a bit to young Marc growing up in San Francisco.
Yes, young Marc, right.
So your parents ran department stores. You grew up, your first job was cleaning jewelry cases.
Benioff's department store.
Benioff's department stores. Yeah. Who was Marc Benioff before Marc Benioff?
Do I even exist? Is this an existential thing? Should I bring in some spiritual guru?
Maybe. But seriously, tell me about you as a kid.
I was born right there.
Yeah.
Literally about 6 blocks away at Mount Zion Hospital, UCSF now, right on Divisadero Street, 1964, 60 years ago. And I grew up right there for 2 years. Then I moved right there for a while. And then I went to college right down there.
So this is your hood.
And this is where I feel very comfortable here.
You basically invented the SaaS industry, software as a service, and made it possible for everything from Netflix to Spotify to businesses at Google and Microsoft. What sparked the entrepreneur in you?
I don't know what sparked the entrepreneur because certainly my family was entrepreneurial in the Benioff department stores. On the other side of my family, my grandfather was a supervisor and worked right there in City Hall. And he also was an attorney at 690 Market Street right there. And we used to walk right back and forth there. And he was doing civic leadership. And my father was a retailer selling clothing. So it was 2 different worlds. And then what happened was I was just 15 years old. I was cleaning jewelry cases, not so far away from here in a jewelry store, doing a lot of very hard work, like cleaning the floors. I remember it really well, polishing the cases. And I walked across the street to a Radio Shack store, which doesn't really exist anymore. And I found a computer. And in that computer, I became fascinated as a 15-year-old. And I taught myself how to program. And from then, I bought other computers, kind of based on this income from this jewelry store. And my grandmother would say to me, listen, I'll match you. And which was very exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, the computer was $499. So I made $250. She matched $250. I bought the computer. I sold my first piece of software when I was about 15 called How to Juggle to a little software reseller in Santa Barbara. And then I leveraged that into an Apple II computer. I didn't like that. I sold that to a friend of mine who's now our chief technology officer here. who I've worked with for 45 years, and that was that.
The rest is history. You founded the company now 25 years ago, so you've seen the rise of mobile and social and the cloud and now AI. How has the CEO job changed for you?
Well, the CEO job is really changing fast because it used to be I felt very alone at the top. But now, like, I just finished writing the business plan for this year, and I always do that with someone else. I take one of our executives, and for the last 3 years, I've also found a new partner in AI, and I bring AI in, and I have an AI partner. So I have an AI partner, I have a human partner, and it's the three of us who are writing the plan together. So it's a little less lonely at the top.
You've said you'll have 1 billion agents on Salesforce before the end of the year.
Yes.
Are you on track? What are they doing? What will they be doing?
We're remarkably on track because we now have about 5,000 customers deploying this. And it's amazing how many agents we see getting spawned. Every year we're tracking very closely how these conversations are growing. So week by week, we're looking at how are the conversations growing, and it's amazing. So I think it's going to be incredible. I mean, by far, it's the fastest growing, most exciting thing we've ever done.
You've thrown around this term AI nirvana. What is that? When do we get there? And how do we know it won't feel like hell?
Well, I mean, nobody exactly knows what's going to happen when we get to this next level of AI. I can tell you in the current level of AI, between this combination of large language models and these new reasoning models and where we are, we're able to provide this kind of digital labor revolution. It's an opportunity for our customers to improve productivity without hiring more employees and to let them redeploy existing employees into functions that need more attention, more growth. I'm doing it myself. It's amazing. And that's really important because it's hard to hire right now. There just isn't as many people available. Unemployment is remarkably low.
Interesting.
So, we have a point where we're going to be able to add in digital labor in addition to physical labor, so productivity itself will improve.
You bought the name Einstein. He's the face of your AI. But how smart are these agents really?
10 years ago, we had the vision that AI would surround us. And we bought that Einstein name, or really licensed it. You can't really buy his name, but we licensed it for artificial intelligence because we really believed that this is where we were going to end up, in this incredible place, which is why this week we'll probably do about 1 trillion Einstein transactions for all of our customers around the world.
Just this week.
Yeah, and now it's evolving into Agentforce. This idea that it's these agents, these digital laborers, digital employees who are out there doing this work, servicing the customer, selling the customer, marketing to the customer, partnering with me to help run the company, partnering with me to do the analytics, partnering with me to help do the marketing, the branding. So that's exciting.
So what do you think Einstein would think? Would Einstein be proud?
I think Einstein would be using AI in his work. There's no question. He could have his insights, his capabilities, and then probably would validate them using AI. Yesterday, I was with a Nobel Prize laureate who has received this incredible Nobel Prize for his work in proteomics. And then he's envisioning now how he's designing new drugs using AI. I mean, that is a leap that we didn't think any of us thought that we would get there as quickly as we are. And now we can see that scientists of all types, so yes, Einstein or whoever is going to have the ability to go faster, be more productive because of this capability. You're just able to do more.
How secure is all this? I mean, there's malicious code, there's hallucinations. What are the risks for businesses?
Well, those are two different things. I think security and hallucinations are just slightly different. So security, there's no finish line. We're in a world of cryptography and changes to cryptography and the security issues, and you can never have extreme confidence on security. You have to be completely paranoid. Hallucinations is a different story. That is because of the nature of the models that we're using right now. They're called large language models combined with these reasoning models. These two things together in kind of the current state of the art of AI is not 100% accurate.
Right.
And you know that because anyone who's used any of these things says, wait a minute, that's not, well, everybody probably puts their name in and goes, wait, that's not me, or that's not my exact bio.
Doesn't it get messier?
It could get a lot more accurate. It could get more accurate because the models themselves are stacking their intelligence. So hopefully they're honing what the truth is. And that's the hope. But right now, it's not 100% accurate. In our own work, we're doing hundreds of thousands of conversations, just ourselves and our company with our customers. And we have about 93% accuracy. Even for a large brand or a large company that we work with, like Disney, it's about 93%. It's not 100%.
Right. 93%, though, that's not good enough, is it?
It's pretty good. You're able to do a lot, but you have to be realistic that we're not at 100. You'll never see me saying that we're at 100%. But I think for a lot of the other vendors, maybe they're at much lower levels because they don't have as much data and metadata, and they're not able to kind of put as much information into the model to get to a higher level of accuracy.
You started out as a coder at Apple in 1984. I think you were an intern in the Mac division.
Boy, you've done your homework.
I have done my homework. Here in 2025, though, you've said you won't hire any more coders.
Well, you're right. When I was 15, I was writing that software on that TRS-80, then it became an Apple II, then it became an Atari 800, then it became a Commodore 64, then it turned into a Macintosh. And I wrote like 10, 12, 15 different pieces of software that I ended up selling commercially. And I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I was self-trained. I didn't really have any formal computer science education. It was cool to work at Apple in 1984. I was a sophomore in college.
Such an iconic time.
Steve Jobs was walking around, but all of the original players in the Mac team were there. I mean, it was an imprint in my subconscious of what that cool company was and who that cool leader was. And I'll never forget that. I am so deeply grateful that I had that experience. I'm deeply grateful to Steve Jobs. He had a huge impact on my life. He had a huge impact on Salesforce. When I started Salesforce, he would call me all the time and give me advice. And I actually wish I had taken more of his advice. I mean, a lot of the things he was saying I did not understand, but he was right.
So you've said you won't hire any more coders at Salesforce. And you've said today's CEOs will be the last to manage all human workforces. What does this mean for businesses?
Well, I just had a meeting with my head of engineering, and we're looking at productivity levels of 30 to 50% this year in key functions like engineering, coding, support,
You're saying
service.
AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work?
AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work at Salesforce now.
Wow.
And I think that that will continue. I think that all of us have to get our head around this idea that AI can do things that before we were doing, and we can move on to do higher value work.
So Salesforce is 75,000 employees now. Is it half that in the future?
I'm not willing to make a projection exactly like that. I do think probably will rebalance. There's no question that we have this opportunity to take advantage of the technology to get to a new place. And I think every company is going to be able to do that. Look at our own support. Just 4 months in, we have help.salesforce.com, which is our agent force doing our support. We have 9,000 human support engineers. They're still involved. They're still doing their work. But they're starting to do different kinds of work because we've already done more than 500,000 conversations, soon 1 million, through Agentforce. That's just for us. And then when you extrapolate that with all the agents, the billion agent dream, that's a big idea that all these companies can do all these incredible things. Like I was saying, this idea of Disney or Lennar, the nation's largest home builder, one of them, they're able to do all their sales and service and support with agents.
Yeah.
Or you take another exciting customer, there's like so many of them, Open Table, like I'm gonna go to an Open Table and make a reservation for Saturday night. I do all the time. And this week, we've been working with their employees now for 6 months with Agentforce. Now, it runs on the consumer side as well. So that is just very exciting that we're able to impact our customers in a positive way, making them more productive and helping to change that balance of work.
So Salesforce is marketing its AI tools on their ability to replace human labor. Do you have any ethical qualms about that?
Well, it's a digital labor revolution. That is, we're probably looking at $3 to $12 trillion of digital labor getting deployed. And that digital labor is going to be everything from AI agents to robots. We've seen all the kind of robots that are coming. We've seen the movies for a long time, right? Now we're seeing it deployed. And I think it's really just technology's marching forward. It's getting lower cost. It's getting easier to use. And I do think, to your point, CEOs have to make sure their values are in the right place and that values bring value. But we're becoming more automated.
Could an agent replace you one day?
I hope so. You could already say, to my point, which is that some of my job is already being done by AI. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll write my plan, my business plan, and then I'll say to the agent now, I mean, I've been doing this now for almost 3 years. Hey, grade it. What do you think of my plan against my competitor? I won't tell you which competitor, but against this competitor, how do you think I'm doing? And I'll say, oh, Mark, I think, it's about a B+. And I'll say, well, what does it need to do to get to an A? And I think that idea of knowing how to talk to the AI and communicate with the AI, and I've been training a lot of my friends on how to do that. I just had a friend of mine who left the FDA, took one of these Trump leaves, and he's thinking about what does he do next? How does he think about it? And he hadn't really worked with an AI. And so I'm working with the AI and I'm saying to him, hey, ask the AI these questions. Hey, what about this? And he's using very technical terms that I don't even know what the technical terms are based on certain biological substances that he understands and chemical substances. But the AI understood a lot of what he's talking about. And then I watched him interact with the AI for about 15 minutes, and together they came up with a company idea, named it, branded it, built a slide deck, and he walked away kind of shaking his head going, yeah, that is a new potential future for me.
So why do you hope an agent replaces you one day?
Well, I think that this idea that AI can do a really good job in a lot of these functions. So, I mean, of course, I'm partially kidding, you know that. But I'm like, I do think, look, how long will it be where there's an AI also interviewing me with you? That is, we could be talking, it knows my whole background, it knows all of my interviews, and then, basically,
I want the real thing, though. I don't want AI, Mark.
Agent Emily, and Emily both are interviewing me. And you could turn to Agent Emily and say, Agent Emily, what question did I not ask Mark? Like, you've probably asked me 1,000 questions. And then say, hey, what question should I ask him now based on all of the history that I've had with Mark? And it might have a really unique answer. I was at a conference yesterday, and there was a political leader there. And we were having this dialogue with him. And at the end of the conference, they said, hey, we've had AI listening to this conference and just listen to all of your questions, and we are going to have now AI ask you the last question. It was able to sum all of the questions that we had already asked, plus that person's whole individual history, and then ask that final question.
Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, recently told me it's going to get really weird when we're walking down the street with a pack of humanoid robots. How do you see robotics and AI agents coming together?
First of all, I'm just trying to help this come along right now in the present moment. And I think that it's not a huge leap to think that that's going to be a weird idea. I mean, we've seen the movies, so we can kind of envision some of this is going to happen, and we can see where the robots are and where the software is. But no robot is walking home with you today. But you might get in a Waymo, and maybe a Waymo is not that far away from a robot taking you home. Is that weird?
Maybe. Maybe not. I could get used to it, I guess.
I mean, it's a car that's just driving itself around San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people haven't driven in an autonomous vehicle. And when they come here, they're hanging out with me, they're staying with me in my house. I'm like, I'm going to call a Waymo for you. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, can I get in there? And I put them in and whisk them away and said, okay, bye-bye. It's that experience. It's a robot on wheels.
So I don't know if you know this, but our last interview at Dreamforce, someone spoofed it. And Salesforce has kind of become a meme. There's these jokes out there. People who use it say it can be confusing. They joke that some people don't even know what it is. How do you feel about your company being both a lifeline and a punchline?
I love it. And also, even Elon Musk texted me and said, hey, I don't understand. What does Salesforce do? And I'm like, what is this, the meme? And he's like, yeah, you also have Slack? Yeah, we also have Slack. You have Tableau? Yeah, we have Tableau. You also have MuleSoft? Yeah. We also have all these other products. It's like, why do you call this company Salesforce? I'm like, what should we call it? Agentforce? So, yeah, it's all right.
You've been throwing some shade at Microsoft lately. You've said CoPilot is the new Clippy. What's the beef? What did Clippy ever do to you?
As we've gotten ready to kind of change the conversation around AI for enterprises to agents, which I think we've done, and you were there when it first happened, we had to make it clear the difference between what we were saying and what Microsoft was saying. And what Microsoft was saying was, hey, this is a CoPilot revolution. We're all going to have this CoPilot. It's about the CoPilot. And then customers were not connecting with that. They weren't using it. It wasn't giving them value. Maybe developers were getting some value of it with coding, but even that's been eclipsed by Cursor and Surfrider and these things. So this idea that, CoPilot was kind of Clippy 2.0 for them. It's like, wasn't really doing for customers what they wanted. And then we said, no, look at this. This is the Agentforce vision. This is what AI was meant to be, that these are agents who are making you more productive or reducing your costs, making things easier. And yes, they can augment you as an employee, like it's doing for me as a CEO, but it also can give you more productivity, like helping to answer your customers' questions.
Google and Meta are on trial for being monopolies. Is big tech too big? Should it be broken up?
It probably has been too big, and it probably should be broken up. And there probably is too much power in these companies. And especially when you get to AI, you're looking at the amass of even more power. So these companies, they make their own models. They control entire industries. They control all of advertising, or they control this social network, or they control this. It's going to augment their power. So yes, that power has to be looked at in the reflection of AI and everything that we just talked about, that everybody's power dynamic changes. And for companies that control or have monopolistic aspects of their business, it has to be looked at. I mean, you remember Microsoft also had a consent decree because they became monopolistic. We ended up buying Slack because Microsoft was doing things that ended up in a EU justification against Microsoft. So companies need to be kept in check, and I think that that is a key part of the government's role when it comes to competition in capitalism, that there has to be guardrails, and that's definitely one of the guardrails of capitalism.
Salesforce has bought a lot of companies, big companies.
Yes.
Is that era of deal making kind of dead?
Well, a lot of the companies that we bought were small at the time and have become big. Like
Slack was a $27 billion acquisition.
Yes, but the company itself was doing less than, I think, $1 billion in revenue or so. Like, it wasn't very much revenue. It's grown. These companies have grown because we've been able to grow them. And yeah, it's important to be able to do these deals, and we put together a great company. We gave guidance that we're going to do $40.9 billion in revenue this year, and we gave guidance that we're going to do $14.5 billion in cash flow.
So are you still buying then? Are you looking at AI companies?
We have continued to buy companies. We just bought another great company called The Own Company. And it's an amazing company built in our ecosystem that helps our customers back up their data. And so yes, we're continuing to buy. Even Agentforce was built on the platform of a company that we acquired more than a year ago of a former employee, where we had bought his company. He was here for a while. He left. We invested in his company. Then we bought it back.
What do you think of Oracle's move back into the zeitgeist? And there's this actually suggestion that Salesforce and Oracle should merge.
Well, you know that I love Larry. Larry is my mentor. I've worked with him now since 1986. Mm-hmm. That is a long time. I mean, it's part and parcel with my consciousness in terms of how business runs. And look, I can't say enough great things about him. He's an incredible entrepreneur, and how he keeps creating and recreating his business. And when I saw him at the White House, and he's got Stargate, and he's got this, and he has that, and he has his friend, who I'm also very close with, Masa-san. I mean, it was very cool. You know, I remember when he first met Masa-san, and we were at the top of SoftBank's tower, and we were in Tokyo, and the conference room, and the sun is going down, and it was a real spiritual moment. And Larry's like, look at that. It's like God is right there. And it was awesome.
It wasn't always sunshine and roses with Larry. I mean, you were his protege at Oracle, but then I think he kicked you out when he found out you were starting a competitor. Is this a keep your friends close and enemies closer situation?
Well, I think we've always been really close, and I feel incredible feelings of family when I'm with him. And, he's taken very good care of me, and I think we'll always have that friendship no matter what.
Throughout your career, you've been an advocate for social justice. You've stood up for your employees in various states through political shifts. But more recently, you've stepped back from some of the diversity and equality initiatives within Salesforce. You've been criticized for cheerleading for the new administration. How do you navigate the intersection of politics and running a global company?
It's two different things. I think one thing is equality is a core value at Salesforce. And as someone who grew up in San Francisco, that's in my heart. You know, I guess my heart has rainbow colors. And in terms of making adjustments at Salesforce, I think that, when we can look at it in the reflection of the current administration, what's going on even in the world, there are certain things that we were doing that just were too extreme. And so it gave us an opportunity to look at, hey, how do we slightly adjust what's going on while maintaining our core values? And then I think on the second side of that, I would say that it's a funny thing. I own Time Magazine.
You just interviewed President Trump.
Donald Trump is on the cover of Time. Last Friday, Time magazine got a call. We want you and your video crew and your photographers in the Oval Office on Tuesday. So our CEO, our editor-in-chief, our photographers, our entire team went. And so that comes out today. And also we have a 100-year history that the president who's elected that year becomes Person of the Year. Well, if we put him on the cover and if we make him Person of the Year, even though there's a 100-year history at Time, we're all of a sudden siding with the administration. It's a funny thing because you get a huge blowback from the right that we're too left, and then you get a huge blowback from the left that we're too right. And kind of that's what I really want Time magazine to be, is right down in the middle and to reflect both sides. And I think it's great that he's on the cover. And by the way, lots of people are on the cover, and that's the idea.
Well, I think there's this perception that your own politics have flipped. Like, is there a sincere change in your politics or ideals, or is this business savvy and opportunism?
Well, the funny thing is about my politics is that I have to remind people I was in the George Bush administration. I was the chairman of the PTAC. I was a lifelong Republican. And then at the end of that administration, I basically said, I think I'm becoming more independent and I want to be able to work with every administration. And then I also said at the end of that administration that I would never take another job inside government. I'm happy to be an advisor to a president, happy to be an advisor to an ex-president, but I don't want any more political jobs. I realized that that's an industry I just did not really understand. Some of my friends are very good working in that industry. I'm not one of those people. I don't know how exactly to do it. I can kind of do what I'm doing, but I don't feel like I should be at that level operationally.
You've had a couple of co-CEOs who people thought would replace you. It didn't happen. Maybe you thought they would replace you. Why has it been so hard to pass the torch?
It's a good question. I mean, maybe you have a good analysis. You know, I thought I've been on a succession plan several times where there was a successor in place. I feel like I always want to have a successor in place. I have one now. I had one before.
Who is it?
I don't think I should talk about it anymore as one of the things I've learned because all of a sudden it like changes. Maybe through nothing I'm doing, or maybe it is something that I'm doing, but you can tell me privately what you think what I should be doing.
Well, so is it them or you? Why are you sticking around?
Listen, number one, I've never been happier or more excited about Salesforce. You know, I just finished my management meeting and then came right here. I didn't even have time to do my normal makeup and do my hair or whatever. I don't even know how I look.
You're good.
But I was just, you know, did my management meeting for 3 hours and it went by like a snap, you know, because I just am so excited. Yesterday I was at an all-day conference actually in this building from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Again, it was like 5 minutes. And I'm like, there's so many exciting things happening in this industry. It is so fun. It's like that first minute that I walked into Radio Shack and saw that computer. Of course, you know how life is. There's ebbs and flows. You feel like there's moments where you are bored and you aren't bored, that you're excited or you're depressed. But right now I'm like, wow, this is great. And it's amazing what's happening. I'm sure you see it yourself everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah. How many more dream forces do you have in you?
I think I have to walk away from that thought and I have to just let it come through me. And look, if that changes, that changes. But I'm totally trying to be as healthy as I can be, as happy as I can be, spend as much time with my family as I can spend, work as hard as I can work. And we talked about two amazing companies today, Salesforce and Time. Both of them have this incredible role today. Plus, I'm advising and working with so many of these startups and mentoring these kids. And I have invested in more than 200 private companies. Salesforce also has invested in hundreds of companies. I mean, that's another exciting part. And to influence them and to kind of give them some of the ideas that we have, which is that, hey, you know what? Business is the greatest platform for change. You could take 1% of your equity, profit, and time, just like we did. We've had this great outcome. You know, we've done 10 million hours of volunteerism. We run 50,000 nonprofits for free. We've given away about $1 billion. You can do the same thing. You know, that's the fun part, you know, of business. Or like, you probably know, we're about 2 blocks away from Benioff Children's Hospital here. And there's another one, you know, in Oakland. And the last time we talked about, there's something in Hawaii. There's 3 hospitals in Hawaii now. And that's the fun part. It's all of it together that makes a life.
So what is one habit or ritual that makes you a successful leader?
Well, we've talked about this in exhaustion, and, you know, which is that I think it's cultivating a beginner's mind. It's, as the Japanese say, shoshin. Shoshin, it means the beginner's mind. To find that beginner's mind, to tap into that energy that's in you right now. I had dinner last night with 5 amazing entrepreneurs and 1 incredible venture capitalist. And this idea that you can find that beginner spirit in you, whether it's meditation or it's something else that you're doing, but to recapture the beginner's mind, because in the expert's mind, you have few possibilities, but in the beginner's mind, you have every possibility.
Thanks so much for listening to this edition of The Circuit. You can catch the full episode on Bloomberg Originals. I'm Emily Chang. Follow me on X and Instagram at Emily Chang TV, and you can watch new episodes of The Circuit on Bloomberg Television or streaming on the Bloomberg app or YouTube. And let us know what you think by leaving a review. Those extra reviews, they really make a difference. I'm your host and executive producer. Our senior producer is Lauren Ellis. Our associate producer is Heather Glover Huang. Our editor is Allison Casey. Thanks so much for listening.